Alrighty, welcome everybody to the third episode of the Tilt Proof Podcast. My name is Darth Whoopass.
I'm FatxShack.
And we have a very special guest today. Give a big Tilt Proof welcome to Lumberjake, our friend.
How's it going, boys and girls?
What? He's here to talk about the Star Wars Last Jedi. That's what's going to be our deep dive topic today. But first off, our first news story is going to be one that was posted on CNN and affects especially those of us who are Twitch streamers and like to play games in general. But CNN released a article earlier, I think it was, December 27th, so right after Christmas, that the World Health Organization is trying to push for a gaming disorder to be put in the DSM, and they actually recognize gaming disorder as a mental health condition in this coming year. So, just to read a little short synopsis here of what they're kind of classifying as gaming disorder. It defines disorder as a persistent or recurrent behavior pattern of sufficient severity to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. So, basically, like an alcoholic or anybody with any addiction, they're lumping video gaming in with it. So, what are your first impressions on that, guys?
Dude, I probably have a gaming disorder then, to be honest. That's crazy that they're going to associate that, basically associate that with alcoholism and everything, different diseases like that. Because it's like, who would have thought that enjoying games and being passionate about something could lead into a disorder?
Yeah. And I think that it's really weird to single gaming out, because like I see this like same addiction, which I mean I think it is like to social media. Like people literally get dopamine rushes off of how many likes they get on Instagram, somebody following them back. And like I can see that kind of reward center being triggered by getting achievements in games. Like I can see that same addictive property, but I don't know why they're singling out video gaming rather than having a like internet or technology addiction, because I feel like that's more what it should be grouped into, not be singled out as its own little like subsection.
I agree. There's no reason for this to even be a thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me, because then this is going to lead into a whole lot of different problems. Like, can you get disability for being addicted to video games? Like, I mean, I'll take that. I mean, you could just say, like, it's so easy to say that you're addicted to video games. A lot easier than it is to say, well, I'm an alcoholic or I'm addicted to drugs. Like,
right.
Which I know, like, different disorder. But, I mean, they're saying, basically, I mean, what you're saying, if I'm getting this right, is if you're addicted, then you have a disorder.
Right.
And it's crazy they're doing this as a substance use disorder. That's how they're comparing it. Like,
right.
How playing Overwatch over and over is the same as like injecting heroin over and over.
Yeah. Like, again, I understand the comparison they're trying to draw as far as it is triggering that reward system in your brain where it's like, oh yeah, like I finally beat this person, or I won this game, or I got a new achievement. But I don't feel like it's like on the same level. And I feel like video games in general just get a terrible rap. Like since way back when there was like all these court cases about Grand Theft Auto and like how it was causing people to shoot up schools. Like for some reason, video games I just don't think they're understood well enough by the general population. That they see it and they see people playing these games all the time and they think, oh, they've got an issue. And some of them do, man. I mean, there are like documented cases of people playing video games like 12 hours a day every day. And yeah, those guys probably need to get some help. But it's probably due to, and they actually mentioned this article where like depression and like video gaming disorder are comorbid conditions. So people who are depressed play video games as a way to like cope. But I think that's a coping mechanism, not necessarily, one is caused by the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
And see, then you're just stacking disorders on each other.
Right. And like the human mind is not easy to, like, you can't just, talk to somebody and be like, oh yes, you definitely have this one thing, and like try to pin them down, because humans are way more complex than that. So I think if you see somebody that may be having issues with video games, it's probably because they have, it's a combination of multiple like social aspects, social issues that they have in their own life that's causing them to do this. So it's not like, I don't think video gaming is the problem. I think it's a result of like it's a symptom of the disease that they have in other areas of their life.
I agree. Jake, you said you had a few points on this.
Yeah, going along with what Darth said about like the release of dopamine and stuff, they have like 9 points of where they look. And one of the things is having withdrawal from video games. I was going to ask y'all if y'all have ever felt like you've been having withdrawals from playing a game or not.
100%. I know I have, but it's always been like more of a, man, I just want to get back at it and have fun, not I'm itching, I need this, I'm going to die without video games.
Yeah, and I've kind of been the same way. Like, there have been video games that, and like, I will tell you, the first time I played Demon Souls and Dark Souls, I know you guys are tired of hearing about these, but like, they're 2 of my favorite games that I've ever played. And I honestly, like, I've played them, and I'd be sitting at work and be like, you know what, I got my ass kicked by this boss last night. What strategy could I use to beat it? But it's not taking, like, I'm not sitting there like typing out like a proposal for my job, and then I just drop the proposal and start like worrying about video games. Just like daydreaming like you do at work. That's one example of where I've been like, I guess, itching to get back to a game, but like normally, like especially right now, because I stream 4 or 5 nights a week. Like, when I am not streaming, I don't play video games. Like, I would think that in my particular case, like I haven't got to the point where it's been like I need to go play video games now, because normally when I'm not streaming, like I just don't play video games. Like, I don't have that craving to play video games. So
Yeah.
in my personal case, I don't really see it.
Another one of the steps is preoccupation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like the amount of time you spend thinking about it, and like you said, you're sitting at work, like thinking about how
Right.
you're gonna do it. But I wouldn't really associate that with like being addicted or having this disorder. It's just like, this game requires strategy. If I don't think about it, I'm not gonna beat it.
Right. And I think that one thing that video games in general is, this article and like, trying to classify this as a mental disorder, kind of all, it's all negativity surrounding video games. One thing that I've definitely found like that is positively affecting my life from playing video games has been critical thinking skills and strategy. Like, the ability to solve problems just due to like puzzles, or like, this is happening in the game, I need to do this. Like, it makes you look at problems in your real life not related to video games in a positive way, like in a different way that you might not have looked at it before. It kind of sheds new light on problems in the real world. So I've seen benefits from playing video games rather than
I agree
a negative
100%.
effect.
I agree 100%. There's I can remember being like, going back to what you said, being at work. I can remember being at school, and whenever Call of Duty was starting to get big, and just being like, man, I can't wait to go home and play Call of Duty. But then the other part was, it was just so I could hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
Like, I love being online playing with my friends. And this is a hobby. Like, video games, like, it's fun, it's competitive, it's a hobby. That's why we think about it. It's just like somebody that loves cars. I guarantee you, any downtime that they have, they're thinking about building a car or a nice hot rod. I mean, just anything like that. So I don't know. It's funny how, just like I said at the very beginning, you enjoy something, it gets out of hand. People start to not like it. It's probably a disorder.
Yeah, and there are a lot of very, very oddball disorders. Like, there are disorders where people are addicted to working out, and it's the same like dopamine release you get from drugs, video games, whatever. Like, they get pleasure out of going and working out. And I've seen documentaries on people who have, like, they've lost their job because they would knock off work 2 hours early to go to the gym. Like, it's a very rare case, and I'm not saying that video game disorder doesn't exist, but I think that the negative stigma surrounding video games has just kind of pushed this to the forefront, because people outside the community don't really get what's going on.
Yeah, I feel like, touching on what Shaq said, I feel like the people who are trying to enforce this don't realize that it's not just one guy sitting at his computer over and over. It's him with like 4 other buddies queuing up into games or something like that. He's not just slaving his life away to video games.
Yeah, it's a social
enjoying.
activity.
Right, and y'all have streamed and stuff, and y'all have gained a lot of friends from that, just from playing video games.
And it blows my mind, like how, because I started out just when I started streaming, it was just like, okay, like I'm gonna go on the internet and just put my put my gameplay up, and maybe some people will come in and talk, like whatever. I never expected to have like a friend group surrounding like my Twitch stream. Like I see these, it's weird because you see these people like every night, almost every night, and like I've got people I consider like close friends that I've met strictly through streaming over there. I've never met them in person, and that was such a foreign concept to me beforehand. And I don't think that like I said, there are definitely people who probably have issues with gaming too much, social media, being on social media too much. But there's also positive aspects of this, outside of like, for those that are not addicted. Like I have a new friend group because of it. And I think that people they tend to leave out the positive aspects of online gaming and gaming in general and just focus on the negatives, which is why we have this article.
Last point that I'm going to say is, at the very beginning, you were talking about people that might have depression. Well, maybe this is a way where they don't have to be themselves. Like, they don't have to be out. They can hide behind their computer in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And talk to their friends. Because I agree with you 100%. I never knew that this was going to... I mean, Darth, you're one of the first guys I watched on Twitch, and now we have a podcast together. I mean, it's crazy. The community is insane. And just... I think me and you... I think I've seen you on Twitch, or I've seen a message from you almost all year this year. Like, there hasn't been a time where there hasn't been communication.
Right. And like, I don't have people that I know like IRL, like I've met IRL that I talk to that much. And
yeah,
the gaming community, and there are, again, there are toxic aspects to everything, and the gaming community is no different. But there's a really close knit group of people, and I think that it's more of a social activity, and people want to hang out with their friends rather than it being a quote unquote like substance addiction.
That's another thing with the substance addiction. Another one of the points is tolerance. It's like the having to play more to feel better, and after a game isn't exciting anymore, you want to like go out and find other ones. And I feel like that's just a part of playing video games. Like, yeah, we spend a lot of the time playing Overwatch, but if another game comes out that looks exciting, we're not gonna let that pass by.
Right.
That's
and,
like somehow a addiction or something like that.
But I don't see any difference in playing a video game or like, so having a tolerance to a video game and having a tolerance to a book or movie. Like, I don't want to read the same book 15 times over and over again.
Exactly.
A video game is just a long ass movie.
Yeah.
You control.
I 100% agree. Like, people tend to think of video games as this other, it's not a form of entertainment. Like, it's a game like Monopoly or something. And I don't necessarily, some games are like that, but video games in particular, like, they tell a story, a lot of them do, and it's a form of entertainment just like a movie or a book or a play is. And I think that it needs to start being viewed like that instead of something that's going to be detrimental to your health. Like, don't stare at the TV all day or go blind, like that old school kind of thinking.
And another part of the tolerance that I thought was crazy was there's 3 points of the tolerance. It's like the amount of time, like, do you have to keep playing more? The amount of excitement you get. So, like, do you have to find more exciting games, like play the horror games or more faster-paced shooters or whatever? And then the last one was having to buy better equipment. And it's like, I can see where people can be obsessed with having the best of the best, but, like, if you don't upgrade your technology in this day and age, like, it's going to be old in about a year and a half.
Yeah,
like,
you're not going to be able to play those games.
Right.
Boys, I think I have a disorder then.
Yeah, I would rope myself in there too.
I mean, the way that they have it classified, it seems like it's a super broad umbrella where you could or couldn't have a disorder. And like I said, you can't pin down human behavior just under one. You have a gaming disorder. You have a game, like Oprah style. You have a gaming disorder. But I feel like there are some people who have these symptoms who probably do have a problem and need to seek treatment. But I don't think that. I think that the umbrella is too broad. I think they need to focus it down a little bit.
The last point that I'm going to bring up, it's the inability to reduce the amount you play or even stop. And so this really makes me feel like I have a disorder because it says the inability to stop even if you don't want to play it. So almost every time I play competitive Overwatch, there's a point in time where I'm just like, I don't want to play this game anymore. But I still just keep grinding and grinding. So, I mean, that makes me feel like I am roped in.
It could be, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate there. It could be that there's an addiction there. It also could be that you're a stubborn son of a bitch and you don't want to let like something beat you. And
Exactly.
I have that same issue where like in everyday life, somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm gonna do it. Like somebody slaps me down, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get up and prove that I can do it. So is that addictive or is that a strong personality trait? You've just
Yeah.
gotta. There's so many things that are life's not black and white. There's shades of gray everywhere, and so if you think that you have a problem, or if your family sits you down and says, "Listen, Jack, listen, Jake, we got to talk. You're playing way too many video games, and you forgot to pick up little Jimmy from daycare." Like if it ends up being an issue, then yeah, you certainly need to seek help. But like I said, I think it's just too broad of an umbrella term, and it's all shades of gray at this point, where you can't really nail down, whether this person has a disorder or this person has a disorder, just by the description that they're giving.
Yeah, exactly. They need to. The biggest thing they need to do is take a step back and make sure that it doesn't seem like they're attacking the nerd community.
Yeah, I think it does. It looks like an attack to me. Well, that's my first impression when I saw the article. I was like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" Like,
Exactly. That's what I mean.
coming in here.
That's how we're gonna take it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think that I think that they shouldn't single out the gaming community, because I feel like the addiction that they're trying to push through here is part of a larger problem, which is social media and internet addiction rather than a gaming one. I think that they're mislabeling this and just making it a little too specific.
Speaking of social media, have y'all seen the changes that YouTube has started to make with their subscription where they can like leave messages and pictures and stuff? Do you think YouTube's trying to be more of a social media now?
I think everybody's headed that direction, honestly. Like I think it's smart on YouTube's part to like start having like not an Instagram feature, but they can post statuses and post pictures, because I mean Facebook, you can literally post anything on Facebook now. Like there's videos, there's pictures, there's status updates, all that shit. And I think that YouTube is trying to pull away that exclusivity to Facebook, where they Facebook can do everything and YouTube is limited in just doing videos. So I think it's a smart move. But yeah, I have seen that, and it's kind of threw me off the first couple of times I've seen it. But it was I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, Twitch has that feature. You get your channel feed. So
Yeah.
all right, our next news story is about a YouTuber named Logan Paul. Him and his brother Jake Paul are very famous on YouTube, but this story is just about Logan. Logan Paul put a video up of himself with some friends in the Japanese suicide forest for one of his vlogs that he does daily. In this video, he's walking around the forest, and it seems that he goes down a restricted path. While he was down this restricted path, him and his friends find a dead body. It's very frustrating to even talk about this. I'm probably going to get a little flustered, but in this video, he doesn't just find a dead body, but he records it. Goes straight up to it and records it. Are you kidding me?
I wish it were a joke. Like I feel like it's extremely distasteful to do what he did. Like it's not anything new. There have been like multiple YouTubers who have went to the Japanese suicide forest and like filmed themselves inside the forest. Like usually it's because of like the haunted nature of the suicide forest. Like people have died here, have killed themselves here. We're gonna go spend the night there and like camp out. And then they would film like them camping out there. But I don't think anybody, and not that I've seen anyways, I don't think that anybody has actually went in and filmed dead bodies, one, then put it up on YouTube. I mean, the fact that they posted it and it's in the thumbnail, like it's literally like it's too fucking late. If it's in the thumbnail and you're as big as Logan Paul is, like he was on the trending page of YouTube. So like everybody that fucking logged into YouTube saw Logan Paul and the dead body, staring him in the face. And I don't think it's an issue with, death. I think it's an issue with the fact that he was just being super disrespectful to, this person and their family. Like, more importantly, their family. Their family's already going through enough shit. Like, I think it's extremely disrespectful and extremely, like, it's just in bad taste that he would go, to this place knowing what it was and then just filming a dead body. He took all the time out to go to Japan, go to the forest, create a video in the forest with a dead body, went home, sat down, edited through the video, created a thumbnail, and then upload. Like, if it was a mistake, you think he would have caught it, all that time editing the video. Like, he knew exactly what he was doing, and I just don't think he gives a fuck. I think his ego is too big for his body at this point.
He doesn't give a fuck, and that's what's so frustrating, and I got flustered even talking about it. Because, man, I always try to find the silver lining in everything. And when I saw the video, I didn't get to watch the whole video. All I watched was him, like, walking up to the dead body, and I just turned it off. But while he was walking up, and I want to mention this just because like, I don't want people to think that he actually cares. But when he walks up, he says, like, guys, suicide is not a joke. Like, gives that whole spiel. And then post it and like, we found a dead body in a Japanese suicide forest. And then at the beginning of his video, he tries to be all sentimental, play like sad music. I actually got to watch the beginning of it later. And again, he's playing sad music and he says, this is not clickbait. This is the most real vlog I've ever posted to this channel. And he goes on, and at the end of it, he says, now with that said, buckle the fuck up because you're never going to see a video like this again.
I saw that, yeah.
Dude, fuck you.
Just tried to be a fucking maverick, bro. Like, I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I think it's a good idea. So I think it's a good idea for YouTube, like, content creators, especially as big as him, to make content that addresses issues such as suicide. I don't think that was his intent with this. I think that he was literally, it's clickbait. That's all it is.
Yes.
Like, he's just doing it for the views. And the problem is, like, I don't know how many Logan Paul videos you've watched, but since, like, I know that you followed Vine,
Zero.
And zero. It's good. You've lost, far fewer brain cells than the average population by not watching that. But like, his videos, like, it's geared towards kids, like teens, tweens. His merch is geared toward teens and tweens, like a younger audience. Why the fuck are you going to put out a video like this? Like, your whole brand and your whole channel is supported by people like 17 and under. And you're going to go make, like, you're in your thumbnail, there's a guy who committed suicide, like, hanging from a tree. I don't like, besides the fact that he's being disrespectful to, this person and their family, like, to take that kind of content and, like, filter it down to your extremely, like, impressionable audience, like, is, like, that, I think it's inexcusable.
I don't think it's any question that whenever we find these news stories, guys, that we actually do a little bit of research on it. Darth, can you guess how many likes were actually on the video in the short time?
Oh, God, probably 2 million.
Well, not that much, but 60,000. Well, that's not a, honestly, that's not a far-fetched.
Yeah.
But, it was 60,000 likes of a dead body.
He had, what? Like, I think before it got taken down, he had around 6 million views on the video before, like, the pressure got to him where, he had to take it down. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, hell, it didn't help that YouTube wouldn't take it down for so long, and it was already on the news before it ever got taken down.
Yeah.
It took forever. It seemed like it took forever for them to take it down. Like,
they're branching out. It was #1 on trending, like Darth said.
Yeah.
Everybody who gets on YouTube's going to see that.
Yeah, like, so that being said, what do you think YouTube's, responsibility in this is? I know that, like, Logan Paul is #1 responsible because he did, he filmed it, he, edited it, uploaded it, all that shit. But where does YouTube fall on the blame spectrum here, where it took so long to take it down, and it was on their trending page?
Well, I know that like I've seen a few YouTubers like talk about the situation. One was PewDiePie, one was Boogie2988, and PewDiePie just lit into him. But Boogie, I guess he has like a good foot in the door, like with the YouTube like board or something.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know exactly, but he was talking about how he's had to like talk to YouTube and like just because of this whole situation. So I think honestly YouTube might be in a little bit of hot water because I feel like they should be. This is unacceptable.
Well, I think a lot of it's got to do with they saw what YouTube does is that, of course, they can't filter every video with like a human presence.
Yeah.
Like, they can't look at it. So like anytime their algorithm sees a Logan Paul video, of course it's going to the fucking front page because he has millions and millions of views, and they're going to get the ad revenue off of that. But YouTube really made a non-apology for it. I wish I had the apology in front of me, but I saw it on, I think Boogie had it up on his YouTube video about it. Philip DeFranco had it up on his YouTube video about it. And it's basically a non-apology. It's like, yeah, like we don't get to see, we don't get to view all these videos, in person. So we use an algorithm, and it made it to the front page. And like, there was just a non-apology. And Logan Paul's first apology was pretty much a non-apology. Like,
he said his name. He just like kept saying his name over again, like,
and then
talking about himself.
Well, he had one on Twitter that basically went through it, like, not saying that he was sorry in a roundabout way. He's like, my channel, basically saying my channel's so big that I just create content, and I get to be in this like just cycle of uploading videos every day, and I didn't stop to think of the ramifications. # Logang for life. And
yeah,
like that's how he ends
sign.
it. That's how he ends it. Are you fucking kidding me with that apology?
He starts off the paragraph and he's like, first things first, I didn't do this for views. I get views. And then just goes through. It's like, he's
how
just
awesome he is.
Yeah.
You fucking chotch. Logan Paul, listen here, buddy. If you ever listen to the Tilt Proof podcast, I will personally kick your fucking ass. All right?
And what's crazy is, like, this is the first time he's done something this big, but, like, he started riots at VidCon, and then he has one video, and Darth said it right, like, I did lose a couple brain cells watching it, but he has glasses that he puts on, because he claims that he's colorblind, and so he goes through the whole video explaining it, and then he puts these glasses on and does a reaction of how it just changes his whole eyesight. It's the craziest thing ever.
Well, and he takes that from Facebook of all the people that are truly colorblind and they see color for the first time. Like, dude, man, Logan Paul, you and your brother, get off YouTube. Get off. Like, y'all make us look bad. Because we're in the same, even though we're not, we're like in the same category of like being on YouTube, being on Twitch. Like, dude, you make everybody just look bad.
I think it makes the internet look bad.
It does.
And I don't know. Have you seen any of the other videos surrounding like his trip to Japan? Because there's a lot of like people have kind of brought up the fact that he's like low key racist towards Asians, and I don't want to throw an accusation like his way without knowing it, but it just seems like and it could just be his general demeanor that he's disrespectful. Maybe his ego's got too big, where he's just a kind of a douche. But like he goes around Japan filming people that don't want to be filmed, like running in front of cars and making them stop. He was throwing Pokeballs at Japanese people trying to catch them. Like, it's just like super disrespectful towards like the Japanese people. And then you go into like the suicide forest and then be even more disrespectful, to the Japanese people that way. Like, it's just, I mean, hopefully this will throw his ego in check and just be like, he needs to calm the fuck down for just a second and think about what he's doing.
There was 2 videos that, what's sad is like, I'm so out of touch with like the Paul brothers that Megatron, was the first one to even, like bring it up to my attention. And one of the videos that she actually showed me last night was I think he bought a Game Boy, and goes outside and just breaks it. Goes outside and Jake just pulled it up. He smashes
and took
the
it
Game
back
Boy.
in the shop.
Yeah, it was like, and he says "mucho broken-o." Like, dude,
Like, how time to get the
I
fuck
hate
out of my
you.
shop.
I hate you.
You
Yeah.
stupid twat. Like,
Yeah.
I try to be a pretty chill person. Like, and understand other people have been brought up in ways different than my own, but that's just being an asshole. Like, there's no excuse for him to do that, except he's just trying to troll this, like, poor shop owner, and just what it seems like troll the entire Japanese population while, like, during his visit. He just makes, like, Americans look like an asshole. And like we do a good enough job of that on our own. Like, we don't need Logan Paul as the asshole ambassador to Japan to go make us look any worse. So
the other video, I believe it was part of the end of the Suicide Forest, and it's after the body. They're out of the forest, and I think like law enforcement like kind of stops them, or like maybe like the park rangers. I'm not sure. I didn't really like try to see who it really was, but they were like, "You're not allowed to go in the restricted area. Like, you can't go off the path." And he was like, "Well, too late." Like, no remorse. I mean, he just did not give a single fuck.
and yeah, he does it. And I don't want to like I guess we have just absolutely reamed him so far, but like, I mean, the kid's what, 22, I think, and is one of the biggest, if not the biggest name on YouTube. Like, him and PewDiePie, like, are just, and his brother Jake, like, they're all just like, I will never ever know fame like they know fame. Like, I'm sure that shit goes to his head, and I don't want to like, he's still young and dumb is what I'm trying to say. Hopefully because he's not going to go away. Hopefully he can take a lesson from this and be a better person. And that's my final statement. Like, that's all I want for him, is him to learn from this experience, as stupid and disrespectful as it was, and go forward and, you know, be a better person and hopefully take a lesson away from this.
Only thing I'm going to say about that is, and I know that there's still no excuse, even with what you're saying. Like, I know that you still believe that there's no excuse for that, but I'm 21. Yeah. I'm 21, married, have a job, and provide for my small family. Yeah, grow the fuck up, Logan. Grow the fuck up. Like, there's no, I don't like young and dumb. I understand that. Like, I do some stupid shit, but nothing compared to that. Like, you have to be smarter than that. Like, that's not cool in any way. And it's so sad because all these kids are like, "Oh, he's found a dead body."
Yeah, he's just being a maverick. All right, so here comes the moment you've all been waiting for.
The deep dive.
The deep dive. It is. We need an MLG horn. We're going to review Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And I know Lumberjake's a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big Star Wars fan. FatxShack's a big Star Wars fan. So before we get into the plot, what were you guys looking for going into this movie? Like, what were like, say, 3 things you wanted to see out of this movie going into?
All right. The first thing I wanted to see was just that first moment of Rey and Luke. What was going to be said, what the reactions were going to be. All right. The second one was, who is Rey? Like, basically her background, who her parents could be, all that. And then who Snoke was.
Okay.
That's that. Just a little bit. Like, going into it, I knew, hey, there's another movie. Don't expect everything. But those were like stuff that I was really looking forward to, like hoping to find like a little bit more of an answer to.
Okay, Jake.
By the way, before we get started, we are gonna have some spoilers.
Oh yeah. Spoiler alert! Major spoiler alert.
But the 3 things I was looking for, I'd say the first one was, how are they gonna, kill off Carrie Fisher? How are they gonna do it, and how, like, if they're just gonna keep doing it, how they did in the original, where they CGI'd that old guy who was already dead.
Right.
The second one I'd say is what were they gonna do with Finn? Like he held the Jedi in the Force Awakens, or the lightsaber in the Force Awakens, and it was almost like something was awakening in him. So I thought maybe he was Force sensitive. I really didn't know. And then my last one was the development of Kylo Ren, because he's one of my favorite like bad guys so far in Star Wars.
Okay.
What were your three, would you say?
I think what I really wanted to know going in, one, I was really curious as you were about Carrie Fisher. Like, what were they going to do with her now that, she's passed? May she rest in peace. I really wanted to find out, like, who the fuck Rey's parents are. Like, they hinted at it all in the first one. I wanted to go into this one and find out, or at least get some hints as to who her parents might be. And then 3, I wanted to know who Snoke was. Like, you didn't get to see much in the first one except, in this projected form. So I kind of wanted to see, where that story arc went. That being said, let's go into the first scene of the plot and see if we get any of these questions answered. So the first scene is the Rebel fleet and the First Order are basically facing off in space with Poe Dameron, or they're trying to evacuate their base. And so Poe goes up to the First Order fleet and basically stalls for time while they are trying to run an attack mission on him. A lot of people kind of had issues with the phone call he made to I can't even remember what was it called, the Dreadnought. Is that the name of the big shit? So yeah, he makes basically a prank phone call to the Dreadnought for General Hux, and is still holding for Hux. Hello, are you there? Like, can't hear you. To stall for time while they get this bombing run set up. A lot of people kind of had issues with the comedy in like the Last Jedi. And I think this was a very good example. Like, I loved this. I thought it was hilarious in the opening scene where they did this. I don't think it was too campy at all. But anyways, they basically are trying to evacuate this base and put this this bombing run against the First Order on, and it's mildly successful, I guess you could say. Where they end up losing a lot of people, and it doesn't go exactly as planned, but they do take out some of the First Order. So what were you guys' first impressions on the opening scene of this movie?
What I loved about this movie was how great they did the space battles, like in the air. Like watching Poe fly around and just fuck shit up was amazing. He's another one of my favorite characters in these new Star Wars.
No, I think Poe's great, and I 100% agree with you. The space battles are just on point in this film. Right.
And then, like you're saying, this prank call, right when that happened, I was like, okay, so this is going to be a real Disney Star Wars. They're going to have jokes after punchlines. They're going to have punchlines after, doing something cool, or they're going to make jokes more often. And that was kind of like all right, let's lower my expectations a little more. But, you're right, that it wasn't very successful, and it was just maybe a first scene of seeing Poe being too hard-headed.
I enjoyed the first scene. I really did. Just like Jake, I love the fighting scenes. I love you don't get just many battle scenes like that, and that's probably one of my favorite. Honestly, probably one of my favorite, just because. You get to see new ships that we haven't seen. You get to see somebody just tear up. My mind's gone blank of what
the Dreadnought.
No, of what their little ships are.
You talk about the X-wing, like Poe flying around?
Yeah, the X-wing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mind went. Yeah, X-wings. Dorothy sent me that link to that Kevin Smith review, and I loved it. I loved how he was even excited about just that little.
You see so much shit that people or that Poe is doing in an X-wing that you've never seen before. Which is like Kevin Smith's point, and I fucking love. He's just he's slamming. He pulled a Top Gun move, where he slams on the air brakes and lets people I mean, he doesn't let him go over the top, but you know what I'm saying. Like, turns it on, like, spins the X-Wing around, like, goes all badass on him. And, like, it is really, really cool to see that.
It was, and I'm a little bit indifferent of of that first joke, of that first scene, because I was like, I don't know, I was like on the edge of my seat just right then of Hux talking back to him and just getting real aggressive. I was like, oh hell yeah, let's go. And then it just like silence and holding for Hux. Like, I was like, damn it. Like, I was waiting for something. I'm not, like, I love jokes. In my opinion, if I was a director, I would probably have like something, like maybe not like an argument, but something like clever just to say back to him, not like over and over again.
Like a Han Solo type, like smooth, not a...
Yeah, not campy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Which, it did it ruin the movie for me? No, it was fine. I love the bombers though. That's badass. Like how big the dreadnought was compared to the bombers, and just like even one bomber was able to fuck shit up.
So
I mean, that was awesome.
I wanted to bring this up, and I had an issue with the bombers, and they never explained it in the movie. And I'm not saying that they don't have technology capable of doing this, but there's no fucking gravity in space. How did the bombs drop? Like,
I didn't even think about that.
They're just gonna float around, like, unless they're magnetic or like they've got some, like, they never explain it. But they just like, and Homegirl, like Rose's sister, like falls out of the spaceship, and like she's the one that has to like open the bombing door,
Right.
and she just falls out along with the bombs like regular gravity. And I'm like, what is going on? Like,
And it could be an airlock on the ship, and then heat-seeking bombs. You know, they didn't explain a lot of things in this movie.
there's no gravity.
Yeah.
that was my
a big
biggest
one.
issue with the first scene.
I didn't even
I
think
think I did
about
think
that.
that at least once, but not on that scene. I was like, "There's no gravity in space, though."
Yeah. And like, I'm willing to give them, so this has been pointed out many, many times, but there's no air in space either. So there's no sound in space.
Right.
So like the which we'll get to later on, because they actually do a very beautiful job of a space scene later on. But the like, so all the Star Wars like fight scenes and every sci-fi like space battle you've ever seen, like, there's no air in space. There's not going to be explosions when or you're not going to hear the pew 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 like laser sounds going through. I'm willing to give that up. But when your bombs just magically like go towards their target when it's supposed to be fed by gravity, theoretically, I had an issue with that, and that's just me nerding out for a second. But there you go. Any other things you want to touch on in the opening scene, or the opening little bit?
Was that when Snoke showed up for the first time in his hologram, or was that after that?
That's when. So if we're gonna count the whole first scene, also happened. The bombs went off, and then they still were able to like almost kill Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia.
Yeah, I can't believe. Yeah, she spends the majority of the movie in stasis, and I completely forgot about that. I know how I feel about this. How do you guys feel when the bridge gets blown up there at the beginning, and we say goodbye, or we thought we were saying goodbye to Carrie Fisher,
and then she force pulls herself back? What is going on? That's
I was like, okay, so this is how they're gonna do it. They've done a good job. Like, she looks great floating through the air, and I was like, okay, that's how they did it. But then it just like, you know, kept staying on her. I was like, wow, this is a real long one, you know. And then she goes, and I mean, I don't know if this is what you're gonna call beautiful, another space scene, but I've never wished they wouldn't have put a scene in a movie compared to that one. Like,
oh god, no, I'm with you.
How
They turned Princess Leia into Mary Poppins, and she just like rides her fucking umbrella back into the spaceship. And no, I was furious because I was with you. Like, Kylo comes in, can't kill his mom, pulls off the bridge. The other TIE fighters blow her up, and like she gets ejected into space. And I was like, that's fitting. Like, you see a change in Kylo's character where he's not as cold-hearted as he was when he killed Han, and like Carrie Fisher's dead now. Like, IRL. You're not going to be able to, like, she's not going to be able to carry on in the movies. Like, this is a fitting in. Like, she basically influenced her son not to be as cold-hearted, and she dies, fighting the resistance like she's always done, and goes blast off into space. And then they had to ruin it by turning her into Mary Poppins and bringing her back in the ship. And I was super upset about it. Like, not a
It was
fan.
crazy.
I thought
Not a
See
fan.
You Again was going to play again from Fast and Furious 7. I did. It was, like Jake said, it was there for so long. I was like, and if we're going to talk about that, like, don't you just, like, turn frozen? Or what is it
Well,
whenever...
that's what I thought was happening when her skin was doing weird stuff, like when the sun was hitting. I thought she was turning into a vampire or something and burning up. But then she just, like, kind of raises her arm up like Spider-Man trying to shoot his first web and just pulls himself back. And it's just frustrating.
It is.
That was another turning point where I was like, oh my goodness.
I 100% agree with you. Like, it was just... And... man, I don't know what to say. Like, that was probably... That and the Casino Planet, which we're going to get to, are the two most, like, upsetting things about this film to me.
It was definitely a blinking guy meme.
For sure. That was me the whole movie.
Yeah. So we've got the first battle. We've got Leia. I'm just gonna go, stop doing anything Star Wars related now. Leia.
You're gonna have to change your name.
We've got
X-Wing, so
we've got Princess Leia going out into space, and then like force Mary Poppins and herself back into the ship. This is also when you meet Finn and Rose for the first time. Like, Finn wakes up at the beginning and is doing better, and he sees like all this shit going on with the First Order bearing down on the Resistance, and so him and BB-8 try to escape, and they run into Rose, who promptly has a dialogue about him being a hero, and then tasers his ass.
they were trying to find Rey, though, right?
Yeah, he was going to find Rey. He was going to find Rey.
That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, and he's like, this is over with. I need to go find Rey. And so he's trying to escape. Rose ends up, tasered him in the process. And I'll be honest with you, 100%. I don't know why they had Finn and Rose in this movie whatsoever. Like those two characters did not progress anywhere. They didn't mean anything to me. Their entire side story arc was complete and utter garbage, in my personal opinion. I liked Finn in the first one. Rose was a terribly dry character, and Finn didn't do jack shit in this movie.
Right, you can't. That's something I was looking forward to, is like how they're gonna develop Finn.
Yeah,
And then they throw him with Rose for like a 45-minute side story, and they don't do anything. Like, they literally did not accomplish anything except for setting some little dog horses free, Like,
yeah.
Every mission they went on, they didn't complete to the full. Like
They failed
100%.
every mission.
They were 0 for 4. Like,
Right.
they just sucked ass.
Yeah.
Like,
They failed every mission.
Nothing worked.
There was no character. You can say there's some character development with like Finn at the end. Like, him and Rose both have like, I guess they're saving grace towards the end of the movie. But there's literally how long was the movie? 2 hours and 32 minutes or so. It was long as shit. Like, they have zero like character development whatsoever, and every mission they go on fails. And I just like I would have removed that whole story arc, because BB-8's the only one that, like, he saved their ass every turn, like everywhere you turn. He's the only reason they got out of the prison. He's the only reason like that they even got back to the Armada in the first place. Like, Finn and Rose were just holding BB-8 back the whole movie, and I was not a fan of that.
Well, they're really trying to make BB-8 be a new
R2.
R2D2.
Yeah. And I like BB-8 in the first movie. Like, he wasn't he wasn't overbearing. Like, he was cute. He added the comedy, like, the comedic relief like C-3PO and R2D2 did in the old movies. But this one, he was a superhero. Like, let's just give BB-8 a lightsaber and let him save the world, because evidently he can do it. Like,
I've heard theories where it's like the all the first Star Wars that came out were actually told by R2-D2, and that's why he's always saving the mission and everything. So this is just
that's cool.
BB-8's equivalent.
That's cool. I like that.
I feel like
that.
they've added a lot more comedy for BB-8, like comedic relief.
Yeah,
Like they were just giving him new arms and legs and stuff that he could use to be funnier and stuff like that.
I think it's too much. I think it's a ploy by Disney to sell toys, and I still like BB-8 as a character, but I think they went over the top with that. All right, so we've really covered like the first little bit of the movie. And I guess the second like major arc and second part of the movie is going to be Rey, Chewie, R2 on Skywalker Island on Octo. Skyland, yeah. Credit to Kevin Smith, Skyland.
Yep.
So this is probably number 4 for me on like what I wanted to see in the movie, and I'm glad that they did it. Like I really, really wanted to see Rey and Luke's like interactions, and I wanted Luke to I wanted him to be her Obi-Wan and show her the ways of the Jedi. And to some degree he does, but he's super like hesitant to do it. But I think that their whole interaction on the island together, and like you see Luke teaching Rey to like, and this is probably my favorite joke in the movie, by the way, like to reach out with the Force after like it takes some convincing, but he finally like comes around and starts to teach her a few things, and he's like reach out, and she reaches her hand out and he tickles her with like the little leaf, and she's like, oh, I can feel it, and then he slaps it down, and it was like, no, she's like, oh, you meant with the Force. He's like, yes. Like that was my favorite like joke of the whole movie. But their interaction and like her diving deeper into her Force powers, it was something that I really, really enjoyed in the movie. And I'm trying to think if there was like anything
Well, yeah.
outside of that I enjoyed more. Like it was just that like that middle kind of like, I don't know, 45 minutes of the movie. Like I was on the edge of my seat, like watching the Rey and Luke interaction.
Well, I was on the edge of my seat for the first 2 seconds.
Okay.
And then, dude, I don't think I've ever been more mad at a movie in my life.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, like when they ended Force Awakens with them just staring at each other and like this big intense like scene, and then it stops. The movie's over.
Right.
You're like, holy shit! I cannot wait to see the next one. I cannot like what who is this? Who like are they? Or is Rey his daughter? What is this? What are they? What is he going to say? What is he going to do? And he throws the fucking lightsaber. I can't like a year and a half of waiting,
Right.
and he throws the lightsaber over his back. Like, no, fuck you. Like I was just like, I sat back down and just like started eating popcorn again. I was so mad. I was just like, what? Why did I wait for this? Like it was the biggest letdown ever for me. And then, we go on, and she's still trying to get him to like, please help me. We need to do this. And he's like, one person can't save the whole world with a light sword or
laser sword.
Laser sword.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, motherfucker, you can. That's why you can. That's why you're a Jedi. That's the whole point of this movie is to be a badass. This is the Star
Wars. Like,
yeah.
You're supposed to be able to do this.
You and Rey go in there, whoop some ass, and we can go home happy. But no, you got to be a complete dick. You got to go milk some green cow titties. And that was just Jake says it the best. He should have just fucking sucked it off without, like, even the cup. Just, like, gone mouth to teat.
Yeah.
Like, that would have... That was graphic enough. Like, I didn't want to see that shit. Like, but
yeah,
it was...
I was wondering what he was going to do to it. You know,
Yeah.
he was walking up to it, and it just kind of looks at him like he does.
That was so damn weird. That was so damn weird. But like, so all right, Jake. Me and Shaq have kind of gave our piece about the island. What was your impressions of it?
Well, mine, like, one big thing about this movie that I looked into is that Mark Hamill, the actor who plays Luke Skywalker, he hates what they've done to Luke in these past two movies.
I've heard that.
I mean, in the last one, you get like 15 seconds of him just staring at Rey. But in this one, he says, I read a quote where he told the director that he fundamentally disagrees with everything he's done with Luke.
Mhm.
It's like, if you have the poster child of the original movies, who's the saving grace, and he tells you that he fundamentally disagrees with everything you've done, I would think you'd sit down and be like, wow, okay, let's change some stuff up. But no, like, he just makes him a complete bitch about everything. Like, he's lost all hope for what a Jedi is. And I feel like Luke was the most optimistic Jedi there was. Like, he went and wanted to train, and he was scared about, like, facing his dad, but, like, who wouldn't be? But, like, in this movie, he's just, no, like, I'm going to die and I'll be the last Jedi.
Yeah,
and the whole, there wasn't any training. Like, he says he's going to give her
very
3
little
training
yeah.
sessions, but, like, he barely, like, nothing compared to anything Obi-Wan and Anakin would probably do.
And I understand where you're coming from on those, but there's, like, I agree with those negative aspects of it, but there were some things that I really, really enjoyed about the time on the island. So when Rey reaches out with the Force, sees the light side, sees the flowers, all that stuff, then she's drawn to the dark side of the Force. And, like, you see, like, how much power she kind of wields. Like, she cracks the boulder that she's sitting underneath. And there's also a throwback there where you see Rey go into the dark side, like the hole on the island, while she's there. Just like Luke went into, like, that like tree cave on Dagobah. And you see, like, you're gonna see your biggest fear or your greatest fear here. And she sees herself, which I'm gonna go, like, what the fuck were the snapping thing that she was doing? Like, that, why? Can you not just, like, show me your parents or show me something else? Like, show me your greatest fear. Look at Kylo through that, like, mirror section in the movie. Like, where there's 150 Reys, like, talking one after another. Like, I thought it was a very good throwback, and then they ruined it by what they did with her just, like, snapping her fingers. And then you find literally nothing out about, her family or, like, what her greatest fear might be or anything like that. I think it was a huge, like, they shot it so well, and then there's just a huge letdown as far as the story goes.
If they would have, like, showed her parents or, like, given a glimpse or something, I think I would have been okay with that whole scene.
Yeah.
But then I was like, what's going on? Like, why? What in the world?
Yeah,
like,
I was,
like, a
100% confused. Like, it was just a bad, like, acid trip. Like, her staring at 100 copies of herself, and then you never find anything out.
And I had read where Rian Johnson, he had said that her greatest fear is, like, in the cave that she saw was just herself over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I feel like he's just given so many bad answers to really good questions. So he's saying that, like, she has to be her own parents. Like, she was looking to find out who they were, but then she just sees a million copies of herself.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, yeah, that kind of could be an answer, but, like, you could have done so much better.
Well, Ryan, your answer is stupid, and I don't like it.
I didn't like it either. So one other thing that we haven't touched on about the island is shirtless Kylo Ren being able to project himself across the galaxy. Like, him and Rey have this like, force connection while they're on the island, and I was interested to kind of see, like, what the relationship is, because there's, like, despite and I moderately enjoyed the movie overall, but, like, there's this connection between Kylo and Rey in the movie, and, like, they have, and you're feel free to disagree with them, they have, like, extremely good chemistry. Like, it seems like they play off of each other really, really well, and I don't like Kylo Ren, but I think that the scenes that they're in together are the best scenes in the movie, including the stuff on the island where they're kind of talking to each other about the Force, like, come to the light side. I sense like, turmoil in you, like, you're not all the way dark. Like, those back and forths were really, really good, and I did enjoy that part of, like, Rey's training while she's on Skyland.
And I believe towards the end of the movie, Snoke says that he was the reason they were connected.
Yeah, he was.
Right?
Yeah,
okay.
he does. he does bring that up. I just like the back and forth of those two, like because they're both like Kylo. Obviously, his training has not been what it should have been, like because he seems he can't wield the Force any better than Rey, and she just discovered it like yesterday. So they like, but the back and forths that they have with each other, and like just the chemistry like on screen, I think is very very good, and I did enjoy that part of the movie while they were on the island.
And they've really like, I read where they put that into the movie just to storytell. Like that's what, again, Ryan Johnson, I was reading a lot of his quotes, and he was saying that the only reason they were connected was just to tell more story. Like it's not that that was something they both discovered or that Snoke did. It's like, oh, we got to tell story somehow between these two. Like, and this is how they did it. And I feel like they did a good job.
I think it was a creative way to do it.
They're about to touch, and like Kylo, like Luke runs in, and Kylo's like in the room with them. Like that was pretty crazy. But I mean,
yeah, I enjoyed that too. I really did. I liked. Darth, I think you made it. I think you said it the best. Like there was a good connection between them.
Yeah, and like I don't know if it's, and it was weird. Like I couldn't tell if it was like brother sister connection or if it was just the Force or if they're just wanting to rip each other's clothes off. Like I don't know what the connection is. Like, but there's chemistry like on screen, like, and for some reason Kylo Ren is always shirtless and oiled up with baby oil. Like he just got back from a tanning sesh. Like I don't know why that's in the movie, but I think all the scenes that like they're together on the island, I think are really really good.
I felt a brother sister. Just because in my mind, Rey and Finn should be together.
I don't know that that's going to happen. It looks
probably
like,
not. No.
It looks like towards the end of the movie they kind of went away from that. But so the island, Rey and Chewie and R2D2 leave the island to go back because they can sense that there's this intergalactic car chase in space that they need to get back to. But before we leave the island entirely, we get a nice little cameo from one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars franchise. When basically Luke, Rey leaves because she has to. Luke's not coming with her. Like that was a big come to Jesus moment. Like you need to come with us and save it. He's like, no, they leave. And Luke's like, basically to hell with the Jedi. We don't need them anymore. And he goes to like this little Jedi tree temple and is going to burn it down. And that's when our buddy Yoda shows up. So what were you guys' first impressions of that?
I loved how they brought the old Yoda. Like they didn't make him so CGI like they did in the
they actually had a puppet.
Which and I like that they put that in there. Like they made the goofy old Yoda. I enjoyed that a lot.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd say the same. But one thing I didn't like is like they kind of made him too goofy at some points. And then they also, I feel like there was a lot of points in this movie where they just had to make somebody do something that's never happened before just to make their story develop. And so when he like Thored the tree and hit it with some lightning, like I was just like, we've never seen a Force Ghost be able to affect anything really in the real world. And then he's just going to show that he could smite anybody at any point in time. Like that was crazy to me.
Yeah. Now, so I understand where you're coming from. I love the fact that because I think the Force Ghost, like him being able to like call down lightning, I think that's going to play into the next movie. But like I love the fact that they brought back goofy ass Yoda, because if you remember like The Empire Strikes Back, Yoda was literally he was a little bridge troll, man. Like he just made fun of Luke the entire time, and he was like hee hee and like running around Dagobah with his cane, and like he was such like, and then Luke, honestly, like Mark Hamill, by far in this movie, he carried it acting wise. Like I think he was far and away the best actor in this movie, and you see him revert back to like Empire Strikes Back Luke, where he's been like just this grizzled like nasty ass old man the entire movie, and then Yoda shows up, like, and you get throwback Yoda from Empire Strikes Back, you get throwback Luke from Empire Strikes Back, where he's just like he acts like he's young and naive and doesn't quite know what's going on. So like I really enjoy it. Like, was it fan service? Maybe, I don't know, but I really enjoyed the interaction between Yoda and Luke there, because it went all the way back to the way that it was in Empire Strikes Back. I thought it was a very, very, very good callback, and I don't think it was too cheesy at all.
I agree.
I do too.
Hey, so we agree on something. That's good. All right. So Rey is going back. She's left Skyland. And Rose and Finn and BB-8 go to this casino island to find the hacker. So and I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but evidently the First Order has a way to track the fleet through hyperspace. And so Finn and Rose, basically under the instruction of the now demoted Poe Dameron, go to find this hacker on this casino planet. And I don't know, like, they should have just cut this out of the story altogether. Like, they show up.
Let's back up just for a second.
Okay.
Jake and I, we talked about this a lot. Princess Leia's hurt. You think Poe's going to be the new guy in charge, and they bring this purple-haired bitch that nobody knows who she is, what she's done, and then she's just a chotch too. Like, Poe's like, so what's your plan? And she's like,
didn't you just get demoted? And it's like, what?
I think that they did a like you said, they just brought her in out of nowhere, and then she was just like, nope, I'm not telling you shit. Like, you could have,
we could have avoided all of this. Hour. We could have just saved an hour of this movie.
You didn't have to send Finn and Rose to a dumb planet. Like, if he would have, or if she just would have told him.
Let's be honest.
Get out of my face, Flyboy. Like,
the only thing that he ended up sending him to do was free some space horses, and like they come back, and that's it. Like, that's it. It was such a. I really like the opening scene of the movie. I like the island portion of the movie, and then like the 30-45 minutes that involve, Admiral Haldo and Poe, and then Rose and Finn going off to find this hacker. Like, was complete. Like, it was garbage. Like, it looked good. Like, I think the whole movie was filmed very beautifully. Like, I thought it looked like a good movie. But they could have saved, 45 minutes of time if they would have just been like, oh yeah, I know you got demoted, but we're actually just gonna, run to this planet and go down to a rebel base that's there.
Yeah, her plan was
that's
simple.
All it took.
Like, you
that's
could have
all it
told
took.
Everybody.
And the whole time, all you get is this vibe that she's evil and she's just trying to give up, the resistance to the First Order.
One thing that's cool, I watched Rogue One the other day for the second time. I'd only seen it once. And Darth, you mentioned that the First Order now has technology to track through hyperspace. It was a cool little, I guess, call forward where they were looking for the Death Star's plans, and they were reading through all the names, and one of them was like interdimensional tracking. So it's like they've been planning ahead, and I thought that was cool. And
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, this purple-haired bitch, she was very frustrating. She would not do well on the Tilt Proof podcast because she's very tilting. Yeah,
I don't think she served much of a purpose in the story as a whole. We'll get to we'll get to the purpose later. But so the whole mission to go find the hacker, they find one, they bring it back. Rey comes back, and so comes back, shoots her like escape pod into the dreadnought that is chasing the Resistance at this point. Is there anything that I've skipped over up to this point, guys?
No. No, yeah, because Rose and Finn, they go do their thing, and then the next time that we see Rey she's trying to go see Kylo Ren.
Okay. Yeah. So leaves the planet, going to see Kylo and help help the Resistance out. Finn and what's her name, Rose, are on the same ship, and you get what is my favorite part in the movie, which is the interaction with Snoke and Kylo and Rey, because Rey's promptly captured. She literally just shoots an escape pod into the dreadnought, and they take her hostage. But then you get these three major players that we really have been wanting to find out more. Like, we want to find out who Snoke is, and we want to see more interaction between Kylo and Rey. And now you have Rey as captive with Kylo beside her, and then we meet Snoke in the flesh, really for the first major portion of the movie. So, what were you guys' thoughts on that?
Saw it coming. Like, I saw that it wasn't gonna, like, I knew like what her intentions were to get, like, while she was there. I knew it was just gonna backfire. But I, all in all, I loved that whole part of the movie. But there was just a few things where I guess you could say it just seemed so Disney and just like not really playing well to me. Like, it just, that I think that is probably one of my favorite, just because that's like truly the biggest like Jedi part, like, scene. Like, you get to see the dark side against the Force, really.
And what I like about it is, like, I mean, I like it and I dislike it because the scene looks so cool. Like, they're in this big ass room covered in red with like these red knights sitting around as his bodyguard. One thing is, like, why'd they make Snoke so big in the first one? If he was just gonna be like somebody's old grandpa sitting there in his robe drinking coffee.
And his gold robes.
Right.
And
I love the reason I like Kylo Ren so much is because he fights in a style that we haven't really seen before. And I feel like a lot of it's due to how his lightsaber looks and deals damage, because he fights a lot like a knight with a broadsword.
Well, I think
he was in the Knights of Ren, and it's just one of the cool, like, that's why I like him a lot. It's because he's like big two-hand overhead swings and like not really.
I think
agile,
you do see
like most.
You see that. I think that he, like, this goes back to like his obsession with Darth Vader, because you see Darth Vader, like, and I 100% agree with you. Like, Kylo is just out there like he's just trying to beast mode it. Like, he's just swinging as hard as he can. And I think you see that with Vader, like in in A New Hope, where he's very very aggressive and just kind of like swings for the fences. And I agree with you. Like, I love his fighting style as well, because it's just like, we're gonna swing as hard and as heavy as we can.
What y'all think about how they killed Snoke?
Well, that's what I was about to get into. Where,
okay,
you've got Rey sitting in front of Snoke with Kylo beside her, and Snoke pretty much reveals that he's the reason they're able to communicate over these great distances. And he basically starts trying to. He basically says how much of a badass he is. He's like, I was able to do this. I brought turmoil in your heart, Kylo Ren, to set this up. And, I can even see your future. You're going to take the lightsaber and you're going to pick it up and you're going to turn it against your enemy and you're going to cut them down. And the whole time you're thinking, or the whole like gist of it is that he's going to kill Rey. But you see on the side of Snoke's, little throne that he has there, that Kylo is slowly force turning the lightsaber towards him and then cuts him in two. And that's when the fight scene breaks out, which is, again, like one of the best shot and one of my favorite parts of the movie. But I thought it was really well done, the way that the fight scene went down. I think it's a terrible way for Snoke to go out.
Yeah, you have a guy that can force choke somebody a light year away. He can connect people like that are light years away. And then he sees what's happening, and he's telling it as it's happening, like you said. And then he's the one that gets hit, and it's over. He doesn't, like, it's over. He's dead. Sorry, you don't get to get any more information about him the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's like, how can you have this all-powerful Sith guy, but he can't feel the lightsaber moving, like, literally right under his hands, like, right beside him? Like, you can, in all of the movies, almost all of them, you have a Jedi who's like, I've got a bad feeling about this. It's like, he can't feel that. He doesn't have a bad feeling. I don't know. It was just frustrating to see somebody that powerful and with so many questions behind him just get killed that easily. And they're like, okay, sorry.
I have a theory on that, because I also was super, like I said, I think the whole scene, and like the way that it was shot was very, very good, and I like the dialogue leading up to it. I don't think Snoke's dead. I think that like he's powerful enough that he's able to force project himself and make it look like that. And I think that they're going to do something with his character in the next. It may be a force ghost, because I mean, you remember Obi-Wan saying in A New Hope, strike me down and I'll come back more powerful than you ever seen before. Like I literally think we haven't seen that out of a Sith, but I think that's what's leading up to. Like Snoke's not gone forever. I don't believe.
And I see what you mean now with Yoda being able to smite people. Like now you have Snoke, who's this badass old dude, and he's even more powerful than he ever was.
Right.
Something. Hopefully they'll do something like that, but
And I think that's where I hope that's where they're heading. I hope that's where they're heading. Yeah.
I do have one thing about the whole Rey and Kylo fighting the Red Knights.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I know they're supposed to be badass and like the protector of, the Sith Lord, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, they like get their ass kicked. Like Rey and Kylo kind of get their ass kicked. And I'm just such like a big dominant, like I just want to see the good guys whoop some ass.
Right.
Like like Jake and I talked about this. I would have been like a lot more happy if like they just like kept sending people in. I understand like every once in a while you're going to get like in a chokehold, but then it's just like can the next second be just like you do something really badass instead of like you're about to like pass out from being in like a full Nelson. Like
right.
Please just whoop some ass. Like that's just what I was wanting.
I 100% agree with you, but two things that make it believable for me are, Kylo and Rey both are not super well trained in the Force, and in like the old school, like like Palpatine's old like Imperial Guard, like they weren't like Jedi or Sith, but they were Force sensitive. So they couldn't necessarily like throw things around the room, but they were in tune with the Force, like according to lore, from what I can remember. So these guys are not just like your average stormtrooper dressed up in a red suit. Like they're badasses. And I think it's a combination of their badassery and then Kylo and Rey not being super well trained that you get the struggle there. And of course for dramatic effect, like it wouldn't be that much fun if Kylo and Rey just like threw their lightsaber around the room and everybody died in 10 seconds. Because the fight scene was great. Like it was my favorite part of the movie.
I'd say so too, but I know this may not be y'all's favorite part of the movie, and y'all were looking forward to finding out who Rey's parents were. But what'd y'all think about when Kylo was just like, I've seen your past, I know who your parents are. They're just drunkards who sold you for money, and they're like, do you think that's just something Kylo said, or is that how they're going to give you that answer? Like, you don't get to find out who they are, you just see a ship they're flying off in?
I think
go ahead.
I guess it's been about 3 weeks since I've seen the movie, 3 or 2 weeks. And at first, man, I was just so disappointed in that part. But I think after going through it through my head, watching a few theory videos, I think they actually do mean a lot more than him just saying that. Like I bet in the third movie we get a lot more answers. So hopes up again. I'm going to wait for the third movie.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't get anything, then I'm going to be very pissed. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. There's one more movie to come, so.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I was disappointed when it happened, but the more that I kind of reminisce on it and think about it, I think he's a lying sack of shit, or at least I hope he is. Where we're going to find out that Rey's parents are some throwback. The only issue there is. So I've seen this come up in like multiple reviews and like blog posts I've read, where it's like the whole idea of like George Lucas's vision for Star Wars, like the original and even in the prequels, where he is taking somebody that came from nothing and then they end up becoming a hero. So Luke was a farm boy to begin with, and like he's just this kid that grew up on a farm that wants something more in life, and he ends up being this super strong Jedi. And then Anakin, even in the prequels, is like he's a slave and they just find him and he comes from nothing to be like one of the most powerful Sith in the galaxy. So I personally want to see Rey being like of like this, I guess, like elite bloodline, but they have a history of taking people that were, throwaways from society and making them into the hero. So I think that's probably the direction they're going to go, but I hope they don't.
That's kind of like at the very end when you see the little boy like force pull the broom to himself.
Right, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They're just spawning prodigy Jedis all across the
Everywhere.
galaxy. All you have to be is like a shit cleaner upper for those horse dogs, and you're force sensitive. Like,
Yeah. And that, I don't know. So going into some things that, and we'll get back on track in a second, but you brought up the kid pulling over the broom. The whole idea of the force in this universe is that there's always an equal amount of light and equal amount of dark. Like the force is balanced, and you literally have nobody left but Rey and Kylo. So either they're going to become the two most powerful badasses on the planet, like in the universe, or you're going to start seeing more Jedi and more Sith pop up. So I mean, I think that could happen in the next movie. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing there, going off of that kid like force pulling things. But everything has balance, and that's like always been a theme that kind of ran through the movie. So I'm Rey. I get I don't know if she's quote unquote going to be the last Jedi, but I think that's kind of what they're playing on.
right. And with the balance, like, I'm pretty sure Anakin was supposed to bring balance to the Force, and so, like, those are over, and now there's balance, and so now and like you're saying, there's this bloodline, but almost all Skywalkers, I think, are almost dead.
Yeah.
Unless they've been sleeping around that we don't know about.
Yeah, you never know. Look, I mean, Luke's been on that island for a long damn time, but
that's true. He's been sucking that titty milk for a long time too.
he may have. I don't know. So let's see. What have we got here? We've got through Kylo and Rey, and so now it comes to basically Finn and Rose on the planet, or not the planet. Finn and Rose on the ship with Rey. They don't meet up, but they're all there together. And I hate to keep skipping over like these story points, but I couldn't give two shits about Finn and Rose at all in this movie.
They failed at everything.
Like, yeah, that he fights Phasma and he just he kicks her down a hole. That's it. Like that Captain Phasma, who is this awesome character, that's acted by Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones. She plays Brianna Tarth.
She's 6'3".
She's a badass, and she was a badass in the first movie. And this little ass scrawny stormtrooper ex-stormtrooper, that I don't give two shits about anymore. They basically fight her as, like the ship's coming down, like it's exploding. Rey's getting out to the Millennium Falcon, and he runs into Captain Phasma with Rose. And like one of the most lackluster fight scenes that I've ever seen. BB-8 somehow controls an AT-AT, and they escape. But like it was such a shitty end to that character after being so awesome and looking awesome and like voiced and acted by an awesome an awesome actor. Like you're just gonna kill her off like that? Just it was nonchalant. It seems like it was an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, we need 5 minutes of extra time in this movie. Let's just throw this in.
And Finn could he not have come up with something better to say?
He says something so corny after he hits him.
I don't even remember what he said. That's how immemorable that was.
He says like, "Oh hey," like screw you, man. Ryan, fix your fucking movie. Jeff,
please.
Jeff. This is all your fault, Jeff.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything that you guys want to say on like that last little bit of, we didn't even say that like after Kylo and Rey, fight the Imperial Guards, like the elite guards, Kylo's like, join me, and Rey's like, fuck no, I can't, and then so they split their ways. Like there's a huge moment there where Kylo invites Rey to help rule the galaxy with him, much like Vader invited Luke to do the same. But it was a tense scene, but they didn't really give it enough time to develop, I don't think. So Kylo goes his own way, Rey's escaping the ship. The shit with Finn and Captain Phasma happen, which is, I would just assume, forget about. But now we go back to the Resistance and their fleet. They're starting to run out of gas, like they're right at the end. And so they're trying to come up with a plan. And that's where Holdo, I guess Poe tries to throw like a mutiny because he doesn't think Holdo's doing it. And it gets pretty much squashed. And I know you guys can probably tell that I'm not very enthusiastic about this portion of the movie.
I'm not either, dude. It was so just like,
there's a
this
shitty
happened,
mutiny.
and then it's like all right, they do the mutiny, and then it's like, oh, backfired. Like everything just like kept flip flopping, and it was just like the whole time. I mean, the plan was just to go to this planet.
Yeah,
Keep holding out till we go to this planet. Like, why the fuck could we not talk about this earlier?
You could have prevented the mutiny. You could have prevented Rose and Finn from going to the, like, on their shitty side storyline of the movie. And so basically what ends up happening is, and Leia's back now. She just wakes up out of a coma. After Mary Poppins and her way in. And the plan is that Holdo's going to hold them off in the main ship, and everybody's going to go down to this rebel base that they've been working their ways toward on the planet of Crate. And it was just kind of lackluster, except for Holdo's last stand. So as the ships of the Resistance are, ejecting, all the smaller ships, vessels are going down to the planet. Holdo stays behind to pilot the ship and distract him, and the First Order recognizes what they're doing, starts going after the little ships. So Holdo turns this big-ass boat around, and then aims it at the Dreadnought and goes into hyperspace, or light speed. I can't remember what they call it, but goes in the light speed and just absolutely decimates the First Order's ships, which, hands down, the most beautiful, like, series of events in the movie. Like, they shot that beautifully. Like, she goes into light speed, runs through the Dreadnought and the First Order's fleet, and then it's just a bright flash of light, all these ships going everywhere, and just absolute silence. And it's absolutely gorgeous, in my opinion. How'd you guys feel about that series of events after the mutiny? Because we don't want to talk about Finn or Rose or that anymore.
It did look really good, and I think they did a beautiful job with, like, I liked how it was just silence. Like, there wasn't big explosions or anything like you just had to watch it happen.
Yeah.
But another thing that one of my buddies raised is, like, if you could do that, why didn't they just, some guy just signs up to be a kamikaze pilot, and he just light speeds into the first Death Star, and then they roll the second one around, just do it again. Like,
yeah, I was thinking
one of those cop-out
the exact same
scenes.
thing. Yeah, like, why didn't, so you have all this technology where you can go to light speed in space. Like, surely you can hook up a remote control to an X-wing and shoot it through the Dreadnought and not lose half your fleet like you did in that bombing run in the beginning of the movie. Like, why have we not thought about this before? And I 100% agree. I think it was shot very well. I just don't know. I just don't know why it didn't happen before.
With this movie, there was a lot of things. I've told Shaq about this. I feel like they went into their, like, people who do the CGI and their editing. They're like, make the most beautiful scene you could think of. So they come up with, like, a casino planet and, like, a mining planet with red crystals and shooting a big ship through light speed. And then they go to their story writers and they're like, all right, we have these beautiful scenes, write something for it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, whoa, I don't know about that. So they just write the shittiest story they can because they have to work with these big, beautiful scenes that they're trying to win Oscars and awards for.
Yeah. I mean, I see where you're coming from, because I do think the movie was shot beautifully, and up until this point, like, it's been extremely, extremely beautiful. It's just I don't think the stories necessarily kept up with how well the movie looks.
Speaking of that, what did you think of the whole, like, this is moving on, the whole crystal, like, mining planet?
I really like the crystal mining planet. So, like, after Holdo, purple hair lady, runs ship through the dreadnought and kind of decimates the First Order fleet, they go down to this rebel base, which is on the planet of Crate, and it's this, like, what we assume to be snow. It looks like a throwback to Hoth. There's a rebel base there, and they all kind of group up the troops and start sending them out towards the First Order, because Kylo Ren's now in charge with Snoke being gone, and they're heading down to the planet with their walkers and their battering ram cannon, which is like mini Death Star tech, I believe. Like, that's a quote from the movie, mini Death Star tech. To blast open this rebel base to what we assume is an ice planet, but it ends up being a salt planet. I thought it was, again, the movie's gorgeous. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. And I thought it was blood on the snow to begin with, because like the first thing you really see when they're like mounting a defense is like this sergeant kind of step on the ground, and then it's just like this blood red underneath, and you think, oh shit, like he's injured, but it's like a red planet underneath all this salt. But I thought it was beautiful because they basically man up the troops, get these like shitty ass rebel like racers, like pod racers that are in storage and magically work after 70 years. But they start running out to meet the First Order on this planet, and it's just kicking up this like trail of red dust. And I thought it looked great. And I thought it was a very, very beautiful scene. What about you guys?
I did too, but I just thought it was funny how, the ship has to have a stabilizer just to see the red planet, you know.
Why do you have to have this? Yeah, why do you have to have the skis on there?
Yeah, they did that just. I mean, I thought it turned out great. It's just little things it's just so funny what they did with this movie.
Yeah, at that point in the movie, I had changed from a fan just to like the hardest critic you would ever see. Just like every wrong they did, I was like, oh, let's just write that one down. You know, like we'll just bring that up later. Like I had lowered my expectations so far once it was around that point in time. So like anything that I didn't enjoy, I was just like, well, that's just another thing.
Yeah, it just like kept adding up.
But it was beautiful. I won't knock that.
I really enjoyed that whole, well, not the whole scene, but the majority of the scene on Crate. So you've got the fighters that go out, and they're basically trying to go take care of this, mini Death Star tech, and you get the only like character development whatsoever out of Finn and Rose. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself because Luke, lo and behold, Luke shows up despite all of his hesitations to join the fight with his laser sword. Luke Skywalker shows up and goes to meet Kylo Ren and the Walker and like his fleets. And Kylo, being the little emo boy that he is, points all the weapons on Luke and tells them to just shoot him up. So he goes through and Luke walks out, and Kylo fires all the weapons at him, and Luke walks through unscathed. And then we get to see Kylo and Luke fight each other. So give me your impressions on that, guys.
So I thought we were having like a little bit of like a Dragon Ball scene. Like he was just moving so fast that they couldn't hit him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, when that happened, I was just so confused. I was like, what just happened? Like, how did he do that? Like, but I thought it was really cool how they flipped it on us, and he's just on the island. And because I was thinking, like, when did he get a haircut? Like,
yeah,
like,
no, he's looking fresh and clean when he comes down there to meet Kylo. And like all the lasers miss. And so he drops down and goes to fight Luke and can't hit him at all. Like Luke's going full on Matrix, like dodging everything. And basically just being the badass that you want him to see. Like he doesn't even have a lightsaber with him. He's just got his hands behind his back. Just like showing Kylo up. And what we learned to be a distraction. So like the rest of the the Resistance can escape. But we have during that same time, I believe it is, while Luke is distracting Kylo and the First Order, they're trying to blast open the door with of the base with that mini Death Star tech, and Finn decides that it's going to be his like chance to shine here, and he's going to sacrifice himself to run in. And Rose comes out of nowhere, bumps him out of the way, and that's the only part that I care about either of those two characters was that little scene where she bumps him out of the way. Is like, no, we got to save the things we love, which is another bullshit Disneyfication of Star Wars.
It was just another thing that Finn couldn't get done.
I really thought they were just gonna kill Finn off, and I was like,
I was hoping they were. I was hoping they were.
I was like, I just wanted so much character development there. Like, no, we're killing him.
Yeah. Well, after like they spent 2 hours not doing shit with the character, like I was just like, it's time to die. Like Rian Johnson, you've already killed Finn. Just go ahead and end his life. Like, just go ahead and do it. And I guess that was before Luke and Kylo's battle. Anyways, like that's how memorable that scene was. Like that's it. Again, Finn and Rose kind of fucking things up. Kylo and Luke fighting each other, and then Luke's basically like, haha, gotcha. And as Kylo stabs his lightsaber through Luke's stomach, and we all gasp in awe as we find out that Luke is a force projection, and he's still on the island, and he just ran the biggest force troll on Kylo Ren that he could possibly do. He was just a distraction for everybody to escape, and he's still sitting on his island just force projection, which is another way we haven't seen the force used. I think that the movie did a very good job of showing like things that we haven't seen before in Star Wars, happening in the movie. So were you guys surprised by Luke's force projection? Do you think he was actually there? What was going on?
I was very surprised. I was like, what in the world? Like, but then, I don't know. There was just so much stuff going through my mind that that we've never seen before. But I was very surprised that he wasn't there and that he just mind fucked everybody.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I wanted Luke to be there, and actually like go full like Super Jedi on him, and like actually get in a lightsaber battle. Actually like Superman, like force Superman his way like into the fight, and just like reflect all the blasters that were coming in. But they didn't, and I like. As much as I wanted to see it the other way, where Luke goes full badass, I think this was just as good. Like he showed up, he trolled like Kylo like to the fullest extent, and it was just like, ha, got you, bitch. I'm not even here, and like just like disappears out of the scene. Like I never would have thought of that, and I think that's probably the second best way that they could have ended that scene. Unfortunately, as a result of Luke force projecting himself and getting stabbed in his force projection, he is fatally wounded. And you kind of see him on Skyland, gazing off onto the two suns like he did on it wasn't Tatooine. Was it Tatooine? Like he gazes out and sees like two suns setting like he did on Tatooine and A New Hope, which was fucking amazing, like an awesome throwback. And like you see him like disappear into the Force, like you've seen Yoda and Obi-Wan do. So he's now one with the Force. Rey and Leia find a way out of the base, and they kind of see each other, and then they realize that Luke's gone, and that he was at peace when he did it. Like it wasn't a bad death. Kylo was able to strike him down, but hopefully he'll be back, stronger than ever. So, was this a fitting end to Luke Skywalker?
I think it was. I think it was a nice way to. I think it was very surprising. I don't think anybody was ready for it, but I do think that it was the nice way of doing it.
Yeah, it's just like I said. Like we're seeing things people haven't done before. So I mean, I guess that's one thing to look forward to in the next one is just seeing new things. and this is a good way they could. I mean, if Mark Hamill's not happy to be there, I'm glad they're not bringing him back for another one.
Yeah, and I think that, we kind of talked about, like you said, new things that they've done with the movie, like in this particular movie that we've never seen before. And like we see Yoda come back, be able to like use the Force like in the real world. And I think that this is setting up for Luke to come back and be able to do it. Like he fades off into the Force, just like Yoda, just like Obi-Wan. And you also see Snoke die, and I don't think that's the end of Snoke. So I think that, I think it's appropriate to Luke, and I think it's setting up for the next movie. Or at least I'm hoping that it's setting up for the next movie. And maybe he'll have a little bit more input on the character arc of Luke Skywalker. But I was overall pretty satisfied with Luke's end there, especially the throwback to the two sons setting. I thought that was, again, the movie was it was a gorgeous movie. Like, I think it was very, very well shot. There was just some issues with the story that I had.
I agree.
So,
I agree. I'm ready for the next one. I'm already pumped for it.
I am too. I think that the next movie, and J.J. Abrams is directing the next movie. So I'm excited for that because I like J.J. Abrams. I thought he had like some nice questions that he left over from The Force Awakens, which I again don't. The Force Awakens was the Death Star 3. Like, it was not original at all. So they did raise some good questions. So that being said, like the criticisms of the movie that we brought forth, what were your, like, what's your final review, guys? Give me your out of 10 review for this, and like kind of some pros and cons.
All right, my out of 10 for me, I'm going to say 5 out of 10. I left the movie unhappy.
Ooh.
I'm still ready for the next one. I just wasn't happy with it, and I wanted to be happy with it. Like, I left trying to just find all the good points, but just the parts that I didn't like, I really didn't like. And some of that's just because I was wanting answers, but I didn't like how some of the answers were delivered, and just I need the third one to re-rate this movie.
Okay, Jake?
And I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a C, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Just because I agree with you that it's probably one of the most beautiful Star Wars they've done, but they've just had a handful of problems with the storyline. And, I'm not as excited for the next one, but I am excited that JJ is directing it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Rian Johnson still wrote the next one that's coming out, but JJ is directing it. So that makes me a little less excited. But, it's a Star Wars movie. And I'm thinking now that when the prequels came out, I was just a kid. And so, like, everyone who had originally grown up on 4, 5, and 6, they hated the prequels. And I grew up on the prequels, and now I'm starting to not like these. So I guess I'm the new baby boomer. Like, I'm the old head who hates the new Star Wars.
Could be. I side with you. I am. When I first got out of the movie, I said it was like a 7.5. Like, it's a 7.5. It's not the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen. Again, I know I've said it multiple times. You brought it up. It is the best looking Star Wars movie that I've ever seen. Like, they did such a good job in shooting that movie. I was extremely impressed with how it looked. Like I said, the fight scene with Kylo and Rey against the Imperial Guards. Haldo turning the ship around, going into light speed, absolutely gorgeous. The speeder fight on Crate, like the Salt Planet, absolutely gorgeous. Like, I thought it was very, very visually stunning. Like, it looked great. They should have cut out all the shit with Finn and Rose, as I've said multiple times. Like, I have no interest in that. They should have. I don't know, man. There were not any characters that I care. Like Haldo, I didn't care about at all. Like, she dies. Yeah, thanks for saving the rest of them. But like, there just wasn't a lot of character development. Rey's character didn't really develop that much, and like, she's the main character in the movie. Like, the only person you really get to see like a new side of was Luke. When I was happy to see that, but the character development was extremely lacking. But yeah, I'm about a 7 on this one. I'm with you, Jake.
And I think the character development is another thing that just like makes my rating so low.
Yeah.
But
And
it is what it is.
I think that like probably am giving it a bump because I'm so nostalgic and love Star Wars. But I also think that it suffers because of the hype train around this was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about the shit that they threw into the movie for like toy sales, like the little porg, like penguin looking things. Like they were cute, but they was just there to sell toys. And like the little, like the crystal foxes, they served no purpose in that movie. They showed them a way to escape, but like that was not needed. There was a lot of like Disneyfication of this movie, which I didn't necessarily agree with. But like I said, overall, about a 7.
I'm gonna go out and buy me titty milking bitch plushie and sleep with that every night.
Yeah.
With real green milk, boys.
Right.
So you got anything else to like any final remarks on this, guys?
I've gotten it all off my chest now.
Yeah, I'm good now. I'm not angry anymore.
That's good. So we're all looking forward to the next movie. I like I said, this one, and I actually like this one more than The Force Awakens, which probably not a very popular opinion, but The Force Awakens, like I said, was Death Star number 3. This one actually did some original stuff, and for that, like I applaud it. Like, get us some more character development in there, and like do some more original things, and you've got me on board for number 9. But there's definitely some room for improvement.
For sure.
Alrighty, guys. If that's it, we're gonna wrap this thing up. Where can we find you at, Shaq?
Guys, you can find me at FatxShack on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, where I stream all the time during the week, get videos up on YouTube mostly, and I update you when I'm live on Twitter. Darth, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me on Twitch, where I stream Sunday through Thursdays at Darth_Whoopass. Twitter by the same handle, and YouTube by the same handle. Lumberjake, what about you, man? What you got going on?
I don't have a whole lot. I'm not as big as y'all right now, but you can find me lurking in any of FatxShack streams. I may bring out some Cuphead playthrough content on YouTube here soon. I'm in both the Sudu Gaming Discord and the FatxShack Discord. So, come in, drop a comment. If you had something wrong with that I said, we could talk about it.
All right, sounds like we got all the bases covered, guys. It's been fun. I feel much better for getting this off my chest.
I do too.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. As always, guys, stay tilt-proof.
All right, we'll see y'all later.